Designed by clowns, who in turn are supervised by monkeys. That isn't some random YouTube comment. That is an actual internal email sent by a Boeing employee describing the very plane you might fly on tomorrow. For 346 people, this joke became a death sentence. Today we aren't just looking at a crash. We are opening the case file that Boeing tried to keep sealed. This is the verified, untold story of the 737 MAX. To understand the crime, you first have to understand the weapon. The 737 has been one of the most successful planes in history. A workhorse of the skies for decades. But its rival, Airbus, launched a new, more fuel-efficient plane, the A320neo. Boeing was under immense pressure to compete, but they didn't have time to design a new plane from scratch. So they decided to put a new, bigger, more efficient engine on the old 737 frame. And that's where the problem started. The new engines were so large they wouldn't fit under the low-slung wings of the original 737 design. The engineer's only solution was to move the engines forward and slightly up. This one small change completely altered the aerodynamics of the aircraft. It created a dangerous tendency for the plane's nose to pitch up, especially during certain maneuvers. A high pitch angle can lead to an aerodynamic stall, where the wings lose lift and the plane falls out of the sky. It was a fundamental flaw baked into the physical design of the plane. Instead of a costly redesign of the airframe, which would have triggered the need for expensive and time-consuming pilot retraining, Boeing opted for a software fix. A secret hidden software patch called MCAS, which stands for Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System. Its job was simple. If the plane's nose pitched up too high, MCAS would automatically push it back down. The system was designed to make the MAX feel and fly just like the older 737 models, thereby avoiding the need for pilots to go through full simulator training. Now look at this diagram. The entire system, this powerful software that could take control of the plane from the pilots, relied on data from just one single sensor. A small, vulnerable vein on the outside of the fuselage called an angle of attack or AOA sensor. In aviation, redundancy is God. Every critical system has a backup, sometimes 2 or 3. But here, on one of the most critical new systems on the plane, there was a single point of failure. One faulty sensor, one bird strike, one bit of ice, and the computer would think the plane was stalling when it wasn't. It would activate MCAS and push the nose down again and again and again, fighting the pilots and forcing the plane into a deadly dive. But why? Why would the world's most renowned aerospace engineers make such a rookie mistake? Why create a system with a single point of failure and then, to make matters worse, hide its very existence from the people flying the plane? Because the engineers weren't the ones in charge anymore. The decision was made to deliberately omit any mention of MCAS from the flight manuals to save money. If the system was new and significant enough to be in the manual, regulators would likely have required expensive simulator training for all 737 pilots. And that was a cost the airlines, Boeing's customers, did not want to pay. Look, this is a copy of the official Flight Crew Operations Manual that was given to the pilots of Lion Air Flight 610. I'm searching the document for the term MCAS. 0 results. Nothing. The system wasn't mentioned. Not once. The pilots were fighting a ghost. They knew something was wrong. They knew the plane was trying to dive, but they had no idea why. They didn't know the system existed, so they didn't know how to turn it off. They were battling a piece of code that was designed to be invisible. This wasn't just an engineering failure. This was a catastrophic cultural failure, and you can trace its roots back to one specific moment in history, 1997. The year Boeing, the engineering powerhouse, merged with its struggling rival, McDonnell Douglas. What followed was described by many insiders as a reverse takeover. The cost-cutting, bottom-line obsessed corporate culture of McDonnell Douglas slowly consumed the engineering first ethos of Boeing. The bean counters, as they were called, took over. The company's mission shifted from build the best and safest planes in the world to maximize shareholder value at all costs. Under this new management, engineers were constantly pressured to cut corners. Safety features that were once standard became optional, expensive upgrades. Think about that. It's like a car company selling airbags as a premium feature. One of those optional upgrades was an AOA disagree light. It was a simple indicator that would have told the pilots that the plane's two AOA sensors were giving conflicting readings, a clear sign that one of them was faulty. This simple light could have been a crucial clue, but it was sold as an extra. Neither Lion Air nor Ethiopian Airlines had purchased it. They were flying blind, unaware that the data being fed into the flight computer was garbage. Did they know the risks? Did anyone inside Boeing see this disaster coming? Oh yes, they absolutely knew. In 2020, the US House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure released its final report on the crashes, and it included hundreds of pages of shocking internal emails and messages that Boeing had fought to keep private. They are the smoking gun. Look at this one. A Boeing employee asks a colleague, "Would you put your family on a MAX simulator trained aircraft?" The reply is chilling. No. They knew the training was inadequate. They knew pilots were not prepared to handle an MCAS failure. Here's another one from a different employee. "This airplane is designed by clowns, who in turn are supervised by monkeys." And perhaps the most damning of all, a message from an employee wrestling with their conscience. "I still haven't been forgiven by God for the covering up I did last year. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't negligence. This was a deliberate cover-up, driven by profits, that gambled with people's lives. While Boeing's stock price was soaring to record highs and executives were cashing in their bonuses, real people were paying the ultimate price." On October 29, 2018, Captain Bhavya Suneja and his first officer were battling for control of Lion Air Flight 610. A single faulty sensor had triggered MCAS. For the final 6 minutes of the flight, the pilots pulled back on the control column with all their strength, trying to get the nose up. The computer, following its flawed code, repeatedly pushed it down. It was a tug of war between man and machine, and the machine was designed to win. The clowns had won, the monkeys got their bonuses, and 189 men, women, and children fell from the sky into the Java Sea. Just 5 months later, despite the warning signs, it happened again. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 went down under nearly identical circumstances, killing all 157 souls on board. In the aftermath, the entire global fleet of 737 MAX aircraft was grounded. Boeing eventually paid $2.5 billion in fines and compensation, a figure that sounds enormous but is essentially a parking ticket for a company with annual revenues over $76 billion. Of 346 people. The FAA, the regulator that was supposed to ensure safety, was found to have been complicit, allowing Boeing to essentially self-certify large parts of the MAX. Today, there are over 1,737 MAX planes back in the air. The software has been fixed. Pilots are now fully trained on MCAS. But the most important question remains: has the culture at Boeing truly changed? Have the lessons really been learned? When you step onto a plane today, do you ever check the model number on the safety card? It's a sobering thought. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives that expose the truth, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.